So I can respond very differently to plans changing, but if it's just like that, like in the video, we were going to go do this one thing and you were prepared, but now we're going to go do another thing. Yeah, that's going to stress me out. Because again, in that video, it's not just neuroculturally, that's not a bad thing to do to someone. It's accepted within our neuroculture. But then the person who's receiving this bad information, for them, this information, that's bad information. It's bad news, because in our neuroculture, it is a big deal to do to someone. And then you try to express that, and you run into a neuro-linguistic barrier. It's a language barrier. So you're trying to talk about why this is problematic, but you're already culturally incompatible, and now you're linguistically incompatible, and so nothing gets said. It would be just like if you go to a place in the world where there's a literal opposite standard. I can't remember where it is right now, and I have a place name, but I don't want to be wrong. I was always raised in a place where you are taught that when you're eating soup or you're eating noodles, you do it very quietly. You don't make a noise. We don't want to go, you don't want to slurp. You don't want noodles going everywhere, because when you do that, it's just rude. It's not acceptable. So you have to learn how to eat very quietly, and you're taught that when you're a child. Quietly, don't slurp. There's another place in the world where if you slurp your food, it's considered a compliment to the chef. And if you do not slurp your food, apparently it's considered somewhat of the opposite. So it's actually quite kind and polite to go to this place, eat your food, your noodles, whatever it is, and you just slurp. You just slurp away because that's so polite. But if you don't know this, you could end up coming from a place where you think, oh, I just need to keep it together and never slurp, and go and you're with a home cook, and if people don't know that there is a cultural barrier there, or a cultural difference where it's literally the exact opposite, much like it often is with autists and neurotypicals culturally, if you don't know about that and nobody's aware that there are these cultural differences, then the people there might think you're being insulting, because to not slurp your soup, in your mind, your culture said that's, it's unseemly to make such noises. We're supposed to be, hold it together and be, I don't know, sort of stout and gathered about everything and not make the noises. And their culture is like, well, I guess she didn't enjoy the meal. And on top of not enjoying it, she's willing to sit here and tell the person who slaved over a hot stove to cook it all day that she really didn't like it. Like, now we're just insulting the cook. You see how that could become an issue? And it doesn't seem like a big thing, but depends on the situation. It could be a big thing there with the soup, just like sometimes it's a big thing for us when the plans get changed. And we feel this hard hit happen to our system because our comfort just got stripped away and there's no way to replace it. There's no time to do anything. It's not even about a safe food. It wasn't about the pizza. It's about a safe location. It's about safe preparation. It's about accommodating yourself in a world that probably isn't prepared to do any accommodations or have them prepared for you. So the burden has been placed on us, and we took that burden. We did what we had to do. And now all of that work has been ripped out from under us. So not only does it no longer play, our plan no longer plays, it just no longer counts. But now all of that work and all that preparation, it's all wasted time. And if we'd known that the plans might change, maybe we could have researched more than one place. Maybe we could have been prepared for either contingency. But that's another video. And so very importantly, I just want to remind us that's not really our fault. And when someone's mistreating us about it, as sad as it is that some people are in that place and that's all they have to work with, it generally means they don't have the capacity to rise above. And it very often means they just don't have the programming to understand another language. Because right now, we seem to be in a time in the world where we are rising up and speaking as the actually autistic. We are self-advocating in whatever format we can, whether it's this or using a computer to write a book. using computer programs. We're getting our proverbial voices out there, and we're recognized as existing, but we're also being combatively erased by people who see us outcrying and self-advocating and tell us to our faces, for anyone else to hear and read repeatedly, this is fake. That's not a real issue. They're just making too much out of something that's not really real in the first place, or the way it was phrased when I was a child, just making mountains out of molehills. That was such a weird phrase for me when I first started hearing it. It sounds so insane. What do you mean? There's not enough physical matter in a molehill for me to even try to construct a mountain. I would run out pretty quickly. I would run out once I had a mountain the size of a molehill. What are you talking about? But that's what it is. They're trying to tell you that somehow, you know, you're telling a big fish story. You're saying, that's so uncomfortable. I don't know what to do. I was prepared for weeks, and now there's only 30 minutes, 29 minutes, 28 minutes, and they're telling you it's not that big of a deal. Clearly, you're not upset about what you're saying. Clearly, you just want a pizza, so get a pizza later, and the problem is solved. I don't know why you're complaining. And that's literally not it, but it's a neuro-linguistic barrier. And that's why sometimes we just can't break through. We're already not speaking the right language, and if you're talking to one of the majority of people out there who have brain as a physical interface or as their hardware, but they don't have connection to mind as a spiritual interface or as the necessary software to communicate, in this case, the software that's missing is something that educates them on other people's culture and other people's language. And they can go off and do it if it's someone from around the world, or if they hear a tidbit about how it's impolite to slurp here, but it's very polite to slurp there. It's desired and it's necessary and considered a compliment. But right now, as many of us as are self-advocating, we're living in a time where we're doing the work to be heard in a world that has been built so that we couldn't be heard until now. And we're talking and we're being heard, but people are miscommunicating what we're saying enough that we're not even being recognized for our own language and our own culture. It doesn't even count yet. And so my hope is that we can just recognize that we have that language and our culture ourselves and take the blame off of ourselves. And honestly, the blame off of other people, because this isn't really their fault. There's something bigger at play. We're just going with the program. All of us are just trying to figure out how to do what we're capable of doing based on our own brain hardware and our own mind software levels. And frankly, some of us are incompatible even in that. So if you only have hardware and you're talking to someone who has all the new software installed, you're also incompatible in your language, because you're just working in different ways from different capacities to understand. So a lot of this stuff really doesn't need to harm us in an ongoing way. And I found that processing how different other people are and why it's working that way, from the most basic of mundane physical reasons to the most esoteric and what's the word I'm looking for? Well, anyway, to the most, yes, esoteric and Gnostic reasons and everything in between, it's helped me to forgive. It's helped me to forgive a lot. Because when I was just working without the brand new hardware I needed to process all of these things, before I knew that it's neural language barriers and neuro culture shock, I didn't have anything to think except that if you're trying that hard to write me off and dismiss me, you have to be doing it on purpose because of the effort, the words, the harmful content of what people were doing. And then I realized they're just working with brain. And for whatever reason, thank God, because I really do prefer this, I'm a person who was given the gift of mind. And that modifies how you work with your brain. Now I can do both. Now I can learn other things, and they're not there yet. And maybe they won't be in this life. Maybe there are some people we want to move past this and to understand us, but they actually literally can't right now. For the foreseeable future, maybe it'll change, but what if it doesn't change? We just need to love ourselves and forgive ourselves enough, if we're concerned that we can't communicate to them, that we can accept that what's happening that's harming us isn't our fault. We don't deserve this. It's not because we're broken. We're different in a way that hasn't been accepted. And some people are out there right now still, they don't have the capacity to accept anything other than what they already know, so they just reject it. If they can't, like this person in the comment section, they just saw a problem and they decided, I'm going to do whatever I can to convince myself that this problem fits into what I already know and my own physical perceptions and limitations. So since they don't know and understand the experience of autism, being actually autistic, they just decided it's not even real. And they're not trying to write that whole human being and our whole community off. They're just trying to keep with what keeps them comfortable in their own existence. And so if they can't understand it, they either make it fit what they already think they know, or they just say, that's it, that's a lie. It didn't happen. And it's not just happening to us as autists, it's happening to everybody. Light trigger warning, and I can see my battery's about to go. Light trigger warning. I don't want to get graphic, but this isn't just affecting us, because a lot of people are also trapped in a place where they can know you and they can even believe they love you, whether it's true or not. There can be the belief of love, and if you go through something and you victim outcry, you can say to this person, something horrible happened to me, or something horrible happened when I was a child. And then this person who you believe loves you can shock you by telling you, you're lying. That didn't happen. That person would never do this. That situation never took place. You made that up. And then you can even get a lot of anger, which is why I say don't go confronting somebody, telling them, don't go to someone and tell them you just don't have the mind to understand what I'm saying. Okay, if you're going to do that, you need to be very aware that that's considered highly combative, and it's probably you're going to have an enemy in the moment, quite possibly. Because if you trigger the sort of lower behaviors like hatred or anger in the majority of people, they're just going to fall for it and they're going to go. And if you tell somebody they don't have access to their mind or to their spirit, they might just get angry. They might say that's all fake, whatever it is. But that's what's happening. It's not just about us as the autistic community. You could be another neurotypical and say something. This is a story that's very well known. It's why I bring it up. Say something happened in my life and I was harmed. And then the people who are supposed to love you will write you off and tell you it didn't happen. They will either come up with a story that makes it fit, like, oh, okay, well, I'm sure they didn't even understand what they were doing. This writes you off and delegitimizes you. It says that your story isn't true, or maybe even it's a lie. But they don't get that. They're just trying to fit, like, oh, my perception is that this person wouldn't do that. So, okay, maybe something happened, but I'm sure it's not what they said, because I can't accept that, but I can accept that it might have been an accident. And if they can't accept that it happened to any capacity at all, that's when they will tell you it doesn't fit into their perception, doesn't fit into their pre-programming, it doesn't fit into their hardware, because they don't have the software to understand. The understanding software is not accessible. So if it doesn't fit at all, and they can't even modify the truth to make it fit their own understanding, they might just tell you, you're lying, or I'm sure that didn't happen, or you're probably mistaken, or come on, nobody else has ever said this about them. Maybe you just had a bad dream. They have no idea what they're doing. On a spiritual level, they don't even know the harm that they're causing. And if you bring that to their attention, you end up in that loop again, where you've got something to say, and they just can't accept it. Or they can't accept it the way you said it. A lot of people are living in that world. They honestly are so limited in their perspective that it's true that this thing where people believe that no one's actually telling the truth, that you might be trying to tell the truth, but it's only what you can understand from your perspective. When you don't have that spiritual connection with mind, and this is why some of us spend our life chasing it, we don't like the limitation of not having that connection to mind and only having to process with a limited hardware brain perspective. But when you don't have that connection, you can do and say just about anything. And even when you swear up and down that you're telling the truth, it's still just the truth in the capacity of your limited programming. And this is why some people are doing their absolute best and are very often wrong. They're very often harming people. They're very often saying hurtful things. And they're very often going out of their way to comment under somebody's video. Your entire identity isn't true. Your experience, it's a lie. And whatever it is that you're saying, it clearly isn't the outright truth. I have the answer. The answer is simplistic. I know, because it fits within what I think of as being my mind. And that just isn't the truth. But they have no idea that it's not the truth. It just keeps going. It's an endless, maddening circle. And none of this is our fault, and none of this is their fault. We are all just doing whatever we can do with whatever is our current capacity to do things. So maybe if you're dealing with some situations where someone has harmed you by telling you that your truth can't be exactly as you say it or exactly as you experienced it, maybe if they're telling you that what you said didn't happen at all, and they're not calling you a liar, but you know what you said just isn't true. So I'm not calling you a liar, but again, it just can't be true, you know? Maybe you can just get to a place where you can disconnect from how much that hurts and how much harm it causes and how much it challenges our own peace and our own reality and our own capacity to cope with whatever is going on. And maybe you can really just realize that even if what they're doing is harmful, it might literally be the best they have right now. And that does not mean that you have to put up with it. Most definitely not. But it does mean maybe you can process it in a way where it doesn't hurt you anymore, or it doesn't hurt so much. And maybe any harm that you are embracing in your heart or in your brain or in your mind or in your body, where we store so much memory from what we've been through, maybe that harm can just slowly but surely heal down until maybe one day, I speak from experience, it just feels like it's not even there anymore. That is possible. And it's possible, I know this quite a lot, because there are a lot of places where I've experienced it, and there were a lot of places where I was harmed. So I've experienced it a good many times already, and there's still a lot more to work on. So I guess that's my main point. I knew this was going to be quite the video, and I think I'm just about done. I need a little hydration just for the outro. I just want everybody to be able to function in love. And love of self is one of the most important ways of being able to function or survive anything. And we need that support. So I'm here to hand it out. So if you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, tick the bell, share. Thanks so much. And thanks for listening. And that's about it. Bye now.